Hey guys, Dr. Carla here on this week's Wisdom Wednesday, and today we're going to talk about a concept that I learned a while ago in a functional range conditioning seminar, and this is the principle of CARS, which means controlled articular rotations. You might be thinking, what in the world? So there's a very lengthy explanation for this, but let's just bring it all in, and it means that if you don't actively own a joint range of motion, you shouldn't be using it or training in it or playing a sport through that range of motion. So what does that mean? So let's take a person in CrossFit. So say that person wants to perform a butterfly pull-up or a muscle-up. And if this range of motion in the shoulder isn't available to them without doing lots of things to get there, then they shouldn't be doing it. So they're just basically setting themselves up for an injury. So also if you're a person, say you want to squat, and you can't actively pull into this range of motion, we are then going to ask gravity and extra load to pull us into that range of motion. That probably wouldn't be the safest, and it means that we're probably going to be leading down a path to injury because we don't control that whole articular range of motion in that sense. So for instance, like the shoulder. Let's say I have a volleyball player, which I work with a lot of those. If they don't control their entire range of motion through that hitting in a very slow, controlled manner, which I'm going to show you in a moment, I don't think they should be swinging as hard as they can for that ball because it's going to lead to shoulder pathology sooner or later. So a controlled articular rotation for the shoulder would be such as this. I'm going to teach a class on this coming up, but we're going to ground through the whole of our body and we're going to hold everything totally still. We are going to work on bringing just that shoulder up until I can't bring it up anymore without doing other compensations. I'm going to turn. This isn't the best shoulder range of motion, I will tell you, until I go back. Notice I didn't do a lot of extra movements because I locked everything else in. I ground down through everything. We bring it back up until I can't raise it anymore because now I want to fall forward. And I literally work on grooving that pattern for that entire range of motion. An example for the hip, typically you hold on to something like the wall. You can raise that hip up as far as possible. A great drill would be to hold it there for a minute. We don't have time for that. Bring it all the way out until you can't externally rotate anymore. And without letting that hip go, which it wants to, then we're going to rotate, keeping that torso upright. Oh, this is not a good one today. Pull that heel to that butt and down. I've got some work to do. We can also reverse that, bringing heel to butt, extending. Notice most want to go here. I'm going to refrain from doing that, so I just move my hip. Okay? So Dr. Carla needs some work on her CARS this week, which is very noticeable. So anyway, just a little concept about controlled articular rotations. Just make sure that you own a motion before you try to perform through it. Thanks.